About 20 years ago, I bought a product from an infomercial. It was the Total Gym. It was a workout mechanism that slid up and down, built on pulleys. And I was up late one night, couldn't sleep, fumbling through the channels. And lo and behold, I see one of my childhood heroes, Chuck Norris. Now, if you know me pretty well, you know that I'm a huge fan of martial arts. I grew up, I wanted to be a ninja. I made my own nunchucks. I ordered Chinese stars from Kung Fu magazine, threw them at my wall. That didn't go too well with my mom. But Chuck Norris was always amazing to me because he became an actor. He was in several movies about Vietnam, missing in action. And I see him on this television show and he's talking about this workout and he's flexing his arms and his biceps and he's showing, he's telling the world how good he feels. And I think at that time he must have been in his 60s. And about 30 minutes later, I picked up the phone and I ordered the Total Gym. Now, I bring that up because not only is Chuck Norris amazing, but I want to talk today again about influencer marketing because that was a form of influencer marketing. It still is today. But I want to talk about it through a different lens as you think about planning for influencer marketing in 2020 and also into 2021. I've managed, planned, and executed what feels like hundreds of influencer programs, not just in B2B either. I've done several healthcare as well as consumer influencer programs. In fact, about 5 or 6 years ago, my team and I won a Sabre Award for a campaign we launched back in 2014, 2015 for a brand called T-Java, which was this all-natural iced tea. Now, T-Java was owned by a company called Crystal Geyser, and we did this campaign which was focused on the LA market, and our goal was to increase sales, and we did that and a bunch of other things. But today I want to talk to you about B2B influencer marketing, and I want to talk to you about some things that I don't think other people will tell you, at least publicly. Now, the reason why I know this is that I spent probably 2.5 or 3 hours searching for questions that I had if I were working on the brand side about influencers and what I should expect, what I should consider, what's good, what's bad, and I couldn't find anything. And I really don't like repeating what I think you already know, nor do I like to recycle thought leadership. So here are 5 things that you need to consider before you work with B2B influencers in 2020. The first one is to find influencers that actually influence your audience. Now, this is much easier said than done. I've talked about this many times in many different videos because it involves building your audience first. Once you build your audience, then you can see who influences them. Now, 9 times out of 10, it's not who you expect. It's not the same influencers that are on these lists that are published every other week. If that's too hard to do, try to isolate relevancy. And that's my second point. If you're trying to find and engage with 5G influencers, as an example, structure your analysis so that you exclude other topics. And the reason why is today, many influencers, they flood their content with multiple hashtags. Now, sometimes it may appear to be spam and sometimes it is, but they do this to get visibility of their content, which is a good thing if you're an influencer. The problem with that is many influencers who are talking about 5G will put in topics like AI or machine learning or security along with 5G, and it kind of floods the relevancy and it really does skew the data. And that brings me to my next point. Make sure that you work with influencers that are creating unique content. Retweeting a Forbes article doesn't count. Now, if they provide context or point of view or say, I disagree because, that's a different story. But ultimately, you want to partner with influencers who are producing either a podcast, if they're writing long form content on Medium or a personal blog or LinkedIn, or just providing thought leadership on LinkedIn status updates, the longer formish status updates, or on Twitter. That's the type of influencer you want to work with. And the reason why is pretty clear. Influencer content, if they are in fact influential, typically appears in the search results much higher than everybody else's. And so if there's a topic like 5G that you're looking to associate yourself with or find influencers around, Google their name and Google 5G networks, etc., and see if any of their long form content, whether it's video like this or medium long form content, see if it appears in the search results. And that's the type of influencer that will drive value long term because of the shelf life of that content. The fourth one is unfortunately a manual process, but it's a good question to ask yourself, which is, are these influencers mentioned in the media? It's a really good way to isolate true influence. And it reminds me of a project I did many years ago for a client. She presented us with a very interesting challenge. Her budget was scaled back for analyst relations, and she wanted to understand, is there a way to use data and analytics to find out where she should invest her money? Was it Gartner? Was it Forrester? Was it IDC? So one component of this analysis was to gather all of the analyst names, all of the reports that they published publicly, all of the blog posts that they've written, and cross-reference those in the top I believe it was the top 50 media that were important to her business. And the results were phenomenal, and it really wasn't what she expected. The data really painted a different story for her. So I would recommend doing the same thing with influencers. The last consideration is to track the quality of your influencers' followers. Platforms like Tracker do this to an extent. Usually when you're looking to identify influencers, it'll tell you who their audience is, not necessarily by name, but by attribute, interest, affinity, or demographic. That's really not what I'm talking about here. I want to know if there are media, analysts, other influencers who follow the influencers that I want to work with. That's very important to me. However, I have not found a platform that automates this or gives an intelligent view of who a particular influencer's audience really is. The one platform I would say comes close is Audience, and this is the back end of Audience. Audience Connect is what it's called. And as you can see my profile here, we're basically going to look at all of my followers. And what I like about this platform is it's robust. I can filter for any type of follower that is following me based on several different attributes. But you'll notice here that when I do a search for bio terms like CEO, I can see how many CEOs follow my account. Now, there are a lot of people who claim to be CEOs and aren't really CEOs, so you have to do some digging. But you'll see here I'm also looking up analyst. You can look up journalist. And again, it just gives you a cursory review of the type of followers that an influencer may have. Not that I'm an influencer, but you know what I'm talking about. And it's a great way to really understand if the folks that you want to work with are really influential and reaching the right people. And that's all I have for you today. We went from Chuck Norris to influencers to the Total Gym to Ice-T to B2B influencers to Audience, and now we're done. I hope this was as insightful for you to watch as it was for me to record. I hope you have a great week. Please be safe, please be healthy, and I'll see you next time.